A pleasure today to be joined by outgoing Western Canadian Services Manager, I believe is your title, Blair, with Golf Canada, and Doug Hastie, who is formerly of BC Golf, gonna take over for you in your role with Golf Canada. Congratulations on the retirement, Blair, over 12 years with the national organization. Now that you are done, I guess, what's kind of been going through your mind the last week or so when you kind of reflect a little bit on that tenure?
Well, it's interesting, Clark. I am going to correct you on the title. It's regional director, but we get very sensitive when we're working in a big bureaucracy. But having said that, I initially joined Golf Canada. I was asked to join them for a year. Golf Canada at the time was rebranding from the RCGA, Royal Canadian Golf Association, to Golf Canada. And they had done studies to discover that their profile was not as well known as they hoped it was. And so they invited a couple of people, such as myself, to join for more of the purpose to have us speak with managers and pros across the country. So that was the start. And for me, as I look back on it, I originally planned to only to spend 1 year. As I look back now, it was a lot of fun. I quite enjoyed it. As I said to most people, I never had a day where I didn't want to go to work, and I've had a couple of jobs where I didn't want to go to work. So I hope that sets you up for a worthwhile dialogue, Clark.
Oh, for sure. I guess, was there a golf background, or was there some sort of branding or marketing background, or I guess why did they kind of pinpoint you to help with this little bit of a transition?
I had been working in the golf industry for some time. I was a manager, a general manager of golf courses in both Ontario and BC. Excuse me. And so they approached me. They approached a formal golf pro in Quebec, and the former head of the PGA in Ontario. So the three of us were hired at the time to assist with this branding exercise.
So you worked into 12 years. You guys just did such an amazing job in that 1 year, they couldn't let you go. Or how did that work?
We discovered that we had to go to work on our reputation. We had to go to work on the fact that most individuals who are members of Golf Canada didn't realize they were members. Their clubs had joined them, and we didn't have the impact that we thought we had. We had great impact because of our professional championships and because of the amateur championships. And if you weren't involved at that level, then you didn't really pay attention to the fact that we were here. And we do an awful lot more than just professional championships and the Canadian men's amateur. There's a lot of activity at Golf Canada, but it wasn't well known, and to some degree, we had established a bit of a relationship with the general public that we were a little arrogant. We were quite pleased with ourselves, and I guess maybe 40, 50 years ago we had every reason to be. But now, the world of golf has changed.
Yeah, 100%. So just looking back on some highlights, what has stuck out throughout the 12 years, and your thoughts on Doug taking over. You're both BC guys. I'm sure that you've your passive crossing years. We're going to learn more about Doug's career, but get some highlights for you and your thoughts on Doug taking over your shoes.
Well, I met Doug probably, what do you think, Doug? Was it about 8 or 9 years ago? And Doug was the manager of a golf club at that time. So that comes in with a natural bias, number one. He's not from BC, but he's like me, a transplant from Ontario. That's the second bias. And then a long his storied knowledge of the golf industry. So I was really pleased when I heard that Doug was applying for the job, and then when he was hired. Highlights for me, as much as I said, there's an awful lot more known about, that should be known about Golf Canada. The first highlight for me was being able to work behind the scenes at a professional championship. Most of us see the professional championships from outside the ropes. To see it, the internal workings of how that unfolds, was really exciting for me. So that was the first major highlight. And then to see really quite how sophisticated we are at staging championships, amateur or professional. So those were really, really nice highlights. I guess the last one is we'd spent a lot of time visiting golf clubs in the central areas, but I had a chance to go around Saskatchewan, for example, to remote areas from Waskesiu to Estevan, and visiting clubs that rarely got visited by Golf Canada. So that, I guess that was one of the very key highlights, to be able to do that around the country.
Yeah, that's a great highlight. I got to admit, it's one of my favorite things to do around Saskatchewan is travel to some clubs. Doug, you've obviously been around a lot of golf clubs in your day. Tell us a little bit about BC Golf, or even your entire career leading up to that, before we talk about, jumping over to Golf Canada, bringing your exceptional talents to our mother organization.
Well, I'm definitely not as well spoken as Blair. I wish I'm going to, but I'll try to keep up. You don't want to hear about my whole career. I started in the back shop when I was 13 at a place called the National Golf Club in Ontario, and worked there, and then eventually made my way out west in '97 to Vancouver, to a place called Westfield Plateau. And I had some great mentors. I had Ben Kern at the National, and then Jim McLaughlin at Westfield Plateau, and then kind of broke out on my own, I guess you could say, and was the first general manager of a place called Point Roberts, which is now Bald Eagle, which is a very unique situation. And then I did a stint as director of instruction at a place called Musqueam, a very busy driving range in Vancouver. And then when I met Blair, I was at Highland Pacific here in Victoria, managing Highland Pacific. Over the years, I think I enjoyed managing, but it wasn't the best fit for me. I think my passion has always been helping people have more fun playing the game, and through teaching or however I could help them as a manager of a golf club. And I think this role, for the for the last 3 years I've been with BC Golf as tournament director, and kind of rules and handicapping, and a few different roles. And I was lucky Chris pulled me into a whole bunch of different things. And I think that's going to happen in Golf Canada here too. I do have a background with high performance players. Background now, I'm a national certified rules official. I don't know if they'll get me doing that. Hopefully not. I'm not that confident in that in the golf course. But I do know the game. I know the players of the game. I think one of my advantages, hopefully sounding egotistical, is that I've been the head pro of a very private club at the National. And then I've managed very, very public golf courses, even including Musqueam, where it's people just coming out for the first time to play the game, mostly. And so I do know I think I know the ups and downs of golf, and right from the person first touching a club to when they win the men's amateur. And I love to be able to help that out and help the industry as however I can.
I guess so. When Blair, he's retiring, and maybe you catch wind of that, or however that, you learned that, you're probably quite happy at BC Golf, but why want to make the change? Maybe just to expand your horizons? I'm not sure.
Yeah, that was, I must admit, I found out about the job, I forget where it was, through somewhere online, your online, the Twitterverse or wherever it was. And my first phone call was to Blair, actually. He might not admit that, but I phoned Blair. I said, Blair, should I be interested in this job? Like, I don't really know exactly what you do. And he said, no, it's a great job. You should be interested in it. And so I went through the procedure of applying, and I talked to Chris, my boss here at BC Golf, before anything went any further. And he said, no, that's a great jumping stone for you. I think, I think the tournaments were great. I really enjoyed running the events, but I'm hoping that I can be even more help in this role, even use more of my knowledge in this role, I guess you could say. Yeah.
So a question for both of you then. You've obviously been working together 4 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever it's been. I guess Blair, outgoing, how's the transition been? And Doug, how's the transition been going in?
Well, for me, the transition has been fun because for the longest time here in British Columbia, it just seemed forever we had terrible weather, too much rain, not enough heat, whatnot, and we have a big garden. So there are so many projects that you put off. So you can see by the shirt, you know, like this is retirement wear, and so now I've jumped into that in a big way. So yeah, I've quite enjoyed it. I wasn't sure if I would. I tried it once before. I was a general manager at a golf club here in BC, and when I turned 65, I thought, okay, it's time to wrap it up. And within 3 months, it was awful. And so then I got a phone call from Golf Canada and said, we need somebody for a short period of time.
12 years is a short period of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the grand scheme of things.
Yes, exactly.
So yeah, just the last 6 weeks for you, Doug, just kind of, you know, learning from Blair and obviously just being a sponge, just soaking everything in.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You know, Blair, I think, originated this what we call regional director position, and you know, now there's a few of us across the country, and just learning from him, and we got to travel together for a little bit there to Saskatoon and Red Deer and Calgary and around Vancouver, and you know, he's so knowledgeable. He knows everyone. He knows the ins and outs of golf in Canada, especially in the West, and where it's going and where it's been. And so just trying to soak that in and trying to write things down when I could, because I don't have that good a memory. Blair's memory is very good. He's got stuff up there, and I will never know nearly as much as Blair does, but I'm going to try to muddle my way through here.
Blair, is there a legacy that you wanted to leave on the game of golf, and do you think you did that? And this doesn't have to be Golf Canada or your position here. It could be over your lifetime in the game, the greatest game, especially for life.
No, I'll stick with golf. The objective behind it was to get the sport governing bodies, plural. I use that, both the provincial and the national bodies, better known with the golfing public. That was sort of the first objective. I don't know that I would call it a legacy, but I was part of the start of changing it around. You see, 60 years ago, 95% of golfers in Canada belonged to a golf club, and today it's the exact opposite. Only 5% belong to golf clubs. Not the remaining 95% are green fee players, and they may buy multiple packets of green fees, but they're not members of clubs per se. And so we had to go through an education process. And so my legacy, along with my two colleagues who started with me, would be that we started the process. They got a long way to go. Even today, there's a lot of people don't realize they're part of us. But it's well on its way to being established.
Well, we'll all continue to work hard to break down those barriers. From our organization and our member clubs, I'll speak for them. Blair, thanks for what you've done. And Doug, I'm sure they're waiting to hear from you and looking forward to meeting you as well. We can't wait to work more with you in the future as well. Congrats for everything, guys.
Appreciate it, Clark.
Very much.
Thank you very much for your time.